There's Tobias Lauber at the front, just waiting for the nod to head out. There's probably still a couple more laps to be put in by the marshal in the kart.
He's just having fun. They've tried waving him in.
So there he is, making his way around in the pits there, just waiting there for the off. Of course, the kart's been stood down while they're being fueled, so track temperatures and tyre temperatures will be down a little bit relative to what they might normally expect. So the lap times will probably be a little bit down, particularly in the qualifying, compared to what we've come to expect. We've seen times heavily in the 32 seconds for this, a little bit slower than the snail section, of course, the original layout, which we will be reverting to tomorrow morning after the final event in the round 3 of the heats. So the marshal is now complete, so we can expect the karts out on the track at any moment, and it looks like it is going to be Tobias Lauber who leads the way, the German. Track marshals just getting in position, making sure they're happy. The standard of the event here, you can see there's been hardly any collisions, hardly, none of the marshals have been picking karts out of barrier. It's all very, very high standards. Some of the best indoor karters in the world are here at Formula Fast in Milton Keynes, challenging for the title of British champion. I was talking earlier on, as you remember, those who've been watching live stream during the break there, I was talking to Annalene Boutens, who's the sister of Ruben Boutens. Now, of course, Annalene was the final pole sitter a number of years ago when it first came here to Formula Fast, so she knows her way around this track. She was on the pole position for the final in 2014, got beaten by her brother then, so as you can imagine, that was probably a fairly quiet drive back to Holland there, Spanners.
Yes, yeah, kind of awkward, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would definitely hold a grudge if my sibling had.
Yeah, one was up Holland in the race and £1,000, so well, I think the ferry would have been on Rubens that night. However, on the track now, they're on their warm-up lap. They've actually checked the timer. Here comes Tobias Lauber as he starts his qualifying now. So Lauber begins the qualifying run, followed by Paz, Amandio Paz, the Portuguese racer. He's going to be the second one out in the lineup. They're all beginning that all-important qualifying lap. David Kart looks like he's out there. Yes, he is. So is Jeff London. Lewis Manley has begun his lap time as well. Anwar Barul Smith has begun his qualifier. So is Lucas Sullivan. And it looks like the final one's coming through now. The final one to start qualifies Ryan Smith, and there he is. And here is Tobias Lauber. Tobias Lauber takes the checker flag, sets the benchmark time. And will he hang up there in the first place? He still is. Amanda Paz is behind him. It's still Tobias Lauber. And David Kart is behind Tobias Lauber. So is Lewis Manley. Lewis Manley in 4th. It's not what he wanted. Jeff London 5th. And it's Anwar Barul Smith. Can he do something? No, Danton Dillon is 6th. It's still Tobias Lauber from David Kart. Anwar Barul Smith is in 5th place. Still Tobias Lauber. Lucas Sullivan in 6th. Tobias Lauber first out to qualify, 7th in the world. Looks like he's going to hang on to it. What can Ryan Smith do? Ryan Smith in 10th, he goes to 9th, and it is Tobias Lauber who's going to be starting from 1st place, followed by David Kart. Amando Paz, that's the best qualifying run we've seen from him today. Lewis Manley will be probably pretty distraught with 4th. He knew he needed to get a good result. This is so far the first time, well, the second time the BRKC has not won a race all weekend. And he will be feeling that. Anwar Barul Smith is in 5th place, Lucas Sullivan 6th, Jeff Lund, the American, is 7th, Dante Dillon is in 8th, Ryan Smith, the Scotsman, is 9th, Arnaud Tournay from France, he's in 10th place, and that completes the lineup. Spanners, Tobias Lauber started off, was the first one out to qualify, and he's managed to hang on in there on the pole position.
I don't think that's a surprise after the last heat we saw him in, putting pressure on Van Pamelen. Clearly, I mean, it's not a shock, is it? It's not newsflash. Very, very quick in these conditions, in these karts.
Absolutely, he's very rapid indeed. A new name on the scene, and certainly one that's running at the front. He's trying to just hold him back, He's got David Kart behind him. And now they've released, it's Tobias Lauber. He's been pushed across the line by David Kart, the Polish driver, and David Kart moves to the inside, but nothing going there. It's still Tobias Lauber who leads the way into the back part of the race building, shall we say. And Tobias Lauber leads the way from David Kart to Mando Paz. It's a very, very ordered start there. Little bit of action going on behind, but nothing serious, certainly no change of position. back straight, here we go, is Tobias Lauber, David Kart, and third place, Armando Paz. Lewis Manley's in fourth. Now, Lewis Manley's going to want to get up the order as quick as possible as they cross the line. Spanners, it's Lauber with quite a handy lead.
I'm going to say Lauber's looking a little bit ominous here. He's looking scary. He's not having to look over his shoulder. He's taking the lines he wants, and he looks incredibly focused. That is intimidating for the rest of the field.
Well, what's interesting is we've had Lauber with 2 third places so far. He's going to want to get in first place for those maximum points. He needs it if he's going to progress well into the semi-finals and the final itself. So Tobias Lauber, he's got 2 third places so far. He's looking to make a win this one, and he's already starting to make a bit of a gap there to David Kart, who's busy with like the rest of the world behind him.
We've got Dante Dillon in for an early pit stop. He's nailed that first part of it. He did produce the Euro leans that he promised for me, and that's pretty slick. Now he's going to be on his own. That could be a masterstroke.
Well, Dante Dillon was fast in the testing. He's been really rapid. Maybe yet to produce an absolute barnstorming result that we know could come from him, and this could be the race. Certainly he's out there, and he's the first one to pit. Is Lewis going to come in? No, he doesn't. So the only one who's been in the pit so far is, of course, Dante Dillon, and Dante Dillon is, well, we'll see what happens lap time.
Well, I don't see the benefit.
Spanners, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't see the benefit for Manley to pit from where he is now. He's not pressing on the back of Paz, so it's not like he's losing time. But I have to say, like, out in front there, Lau, he does look quick, you know, and I'm wondering, is the reason he didn't want to give me an interview last time because he felt like he should have gotten ahead of Van Pamelen? Or a lot of these drivers think their English isn't up to standard, but it's better than yours and mine.
Okay, Spanners, well, that's all quite interesting. We'll see what happens here. We've still got Lauber with a big old lead, and as Lauber continues in that lead, it's David Kart who's now fighting increasing rearguard action to Armando Paz and Lewis Manley. Both Paz and Manley do need the results here, and you know, it's David Kart who's in the way of them, and they'll be keen to get past him. Spanners, there's still been no more pit stoppers after Dillon, has there?
No, it's interesting. That lead group just isn't quite close enough to make anyone roll the dice. And at the moment, I think they're all going to have to deal with Arno at the back there, who's not falling back sufficiently to not be an issue for the leaders.
Yeah, that's very true there. Arno he's last, but he's running a fast last, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's basically the situation there. So a fast last from Arno Tinay. We know he can get it done. Dante Dillon has still got 8 seconds before he even closes in on him. You know, assuming it then doesn't happen following pit stop. But certainly it's very tight there. Now, Tobias Lauber has got 6 laps in, and he's a second and a half up ahead from David Kart. So David Kart fighting an increasingly rearguard action against Costa Paz for second place. But Lewis Manley is in fourth, and Lewis Manley really does need to come up the order. Of course, Anwar Barul Smith, we saw him win 2 races earlier, so 5th place is a bit of a disaster from his point of view.
Well, look at he's behind Lewis Manley, so he's not exactly trawling around at the back, is he? Like, no. This is a competitive field. I think both of these guys, with Lewis and Anwar, they're in a position where they can do something. They can roll the dice if they can hang in with that lead group. So I'm not counting either of them out for second place yet.
And as we move towards the back stretch, you know, Anwar Barul Smith is still about the length of the straight distance from the leader, Tobias Lauber. So it's not as if they're disappearing. You know?
I think Lauber's gone though. I think Lauber's
he's gone in terms of initially gapping, but he's not that far ahead in real terms of Anwar Barul Smith. When you look at the track, as I say, it's just the length of the backstretch, and we're 8 laps in, you know. So, well, we'll see what happens, Spanners. I think the pit stop's going to play a part.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a pit stop from the leader, I don't think it's going to be coming anytime soon.
No, he'd be a bit of an idiot at the moment to do that. He needs to keep those options open. And if anything, the way he's looking, he's making it comfortable so that he can save that pit stop and maybe use it when he starts catching someone at the back. The moment would be Arno Tinay, really, because Dante Dillon's continuing at a very good pace. He's 33.2. He's only, 3/10 behind Tobias Lauber in terms of speed. So, well, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, would you believe the fastest lap has gone again to Jeff Lund. Jeff Lund is quickest so far in this race, and he's languishing down in 6th.
Well, he's got a little way to catch up to Ansois and Lewis, if we may be so informal. But once that becomes a 6-kart train, that could be interesting if those guys have to start looking over their shoulder. At the moment, though, no, it all looks like a watching brief, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's another new record for this race by the American Jeff Lund. Jeff Lund setting a staring pace, and he is again fastest, lowering his own lap record for this particular event, particular race. So Jeff Lund is really on a bit of a mission. Yes, he's quickest, but it's pretty close, it has to be said. He's running in the same 10th bracket. He's just a couple of hundredths up on Anwar Smith. So for all that, it's still sort of stagnating a bit, but there he is, Jeff Lund. He's about across the line. So there's Paz, there's Manley, there is Burrell Smith. So there's David Kart, Paz, Manley, Smith, and here comes Jeff Lund, the flying American who currently is fast on the track. But no, the new fastest is the leader, Tobias Lauber. Tobias Lauber is doing what it takes to pull away if he can, and he's 1.4 seconds ahead of David Kart at the last count. It may even be greater this time. Spanners, Lauber is doing what it takes to pull away in this race and aim for what he would hope for, an easy victory.
It's sort of a quiet fast, isn't it? And I did wonder what pace he might have in his pocket. He looked so fast and aggressive behind Van Pamelin. It was almost surprisingly so, to the point I'm not surprised by the control he's taking of this race.
Yeah, it's a comfortable speed. It's a comfortable speed. He's again lowered his own personal best there in this race. So Lauber is going quicker and quicker and quicker as he, tries to pull away in the lead there. The German who was 7th in the World Championship last year. Here he is. And so there's Paz that we're looking at, followed by Manley. Now, Manley really does need to get some extra points out of this race. He's got to pass Paz. He's got to pass David Kart. If he can catch him with Lauber, brilliant, but he's certainly got to get past the two in front of him, Spanners. He's got to do it now.
So I'm looking at second place for these guys. I think it's a battle for second place. Where's the move for Manley going to come? Because he's not on the bumper, so you've got to think that this is near to an ideal pace for them. He's not being held up. He's just not in that kind of lunge territory yet. And I think he's not doing enough at the moment to force Paz to drive defensively.
Well, if you take...
he's in.
Yep.
Well, that's answered that question. And I'll tell you what, he's always good on the... I hope I haven't cursed him here, but he's always good on the pit stops. He seems to know exactly what he's doing, and he's got away very cleanly. He's in clean air now, and he's been followed into the pits by Lucas Sullivan as well, who will be looking to come out ahead of Dante Dillon, but Dillon has got the jump on him.
Yeah, Dillon, we saw him pit earlier on, and he's been laying down those lap times. He's not as fast as those right at the front, but he's certainly in a position to take some kind of fight to Lucas Sullivan and the like. Meantime, if you take Tobias Lauber, who's continuing to go faster and faster and faster, take him out of the equation, the ones behind are all quite evenly matched, really, with a 32.8 on the board. Jeff Lund has now got a 32.6. He's not as quite as fast as Lauber, but he's the only other one who can manage 32.6, who's 2/10 up really on those ahead of him, and maybe that's why he's closing in. Of course, this has occurred since Lewis Manley went in the pits, so we'll have to follow the progress of Lewis Manley. He resumed in 7th. We'll see what happens as those laps really become realistic for Lewis Manley.
Well, what Lewis Manley has got, James, is that he got that pit stop out of the way. He's done it well. He's now no longer in traffic, and he can do what he's done for the best part of a decade, going round the Formula Fast track very fast.
Exactly, and really Lewis Manley has put himself in a position where it comes down to that. As far as he's concerned, it's like at club night, he's just got to get out there and be fast. He's got no one in front of him, he's got no one really relevant behind him who's going to challenge him. So he's, as far as he's concerned, he's clear. He's just got to lay down those lap times. So let's have a look at what they actually are. 32.9. Well, he does need to up the pace because everyone ahead of him is faster than him by a reasonable margin. It's the 32-second all the way. There's a bunch of 9s in there. There's 8s. 32.5 from Lauber, but the fastest, again, the person who holds the record for this race, it's back with the American Jeff Lund.
And Jeff Lund still in a net 6th?
Yeah, Jeff Lund is in a, probably, we'll see how it is, but he's listed as 5th at the moment. Obviously, he's yet to come in. Lewis Manley would put him to a net 6th, as you say, but, well, Lund is the one who's making up the time,
Yet that gap doesn't seem to visibly, he's not gone up to the back of Anwar yet, has he?
He hasn't, but he's putting in the kind of lap times that mean he will. That's the difference. So Jeff Lund is certainly worth keeping an eye on in 5th place. He's going to close into Anwar Smith. The key thing is Lewis Manley pitted out of that gap. So in real terms, it's whether he's going to leapfrog Lewis Manley as much in reality as whether he catches Anwar Barul-Smith. That's another place there if he can do it, because of course Lewis Manley is out of the way because he's been in the pit. It's going to be very tight down there. Lewis Manley's got to put these laps in, and he's a 32.7 again, so he really is actually responding. He's doing what he can. He's ever so slightly quicker than Lund, so at the very least he's held Lund to where he is in terms of actual position on the road.
Oh, James, you're not looking in the same direction as Lewis Manley's looking. He's looking ahead. He's looking up the road, and he's put it in his own hands, hasn't he? So he's not vulnerable. He's not vulnerable to a lunge anymore. He's not having to look over his shoulder anymore, and he's not worrying about anyone holding his pace up in the front anymore. But he does seem to favour this earlier lap stop, though, doesn't he, James?
Well, he did last time, but it didn't work. Hopefully it'll work this time. Last time he got monstered by Henderson and Slater, didn't he? But Lewis Manley, he's trying the same approach. But again, what concerns me, Spanners, is he's not as fast as he needs to be. Jeff Lund's putting 32.5 versus Lewis Manley's 32.8. Those little tenths will add up. And that gap that Lund is actually closing in towards Anwar Barul-Smith is the gap that Lewis Manley is looking to come out in when the pit stop cycle around. So it could be bad news for the local driver. It really could.
Well, I think he's thinking...
Oh, collision.
That's Dylan being quite forceful on his way through. So we'll see what the marshals have to say to that. I mean, you do inevitably seem to make a bit of contact coming through here. It didn't look that rude on first glance.
I mean, I had a nice bird's eye view, so it always looks worse from above, doesn't it? It's, I'm sure Dante Dinnell will call it a gentle brush, and I'm sure Arnold Tinay will call it a certified whack.
A mauling. Yeah.
But meantime, it's Tobias Lauber, still fastest, is Jeff Lund. He's seriously cutting in now with 32.5s every lap. Lewis Manley 32.7, so Lewis Manley set his personal best of the race, but it's still 2 tenths off. Lewis Manley needs to find something, anything from somewhere. He's on the backstretch now, looking at the screen there. There's Tobias Lauber. He is the race leader. That's Tobias Lauber, the German, 7th in the world last year. And that is the German there who continues in the lead. He's yet to make a stop. He's got nearly 3 seconds up from that driver there to David Kart, followed by Paz, Barul-Smith, and then Lund.
Yeah, I think Lewis needed there to be more of a fight for that second place, whereas actually they're kind of line astern. No one's putting any pressure on anyone. No one's being forced to go defensive. And so at the moment, that gamble isn't paying off for Manley. And he looks like he might come out in 6th. There's not a huge amount of gap now between Kart 20 and Kart 8, but Lewis, having pitted second, will find himself on the outside of Lund if it's close.
Absolutely, a string of amazing laps by Lund. Look at him there, he's now close up on the tail of that. He's in contact with Anwar Barul-Smith. He's effectively, moved into the Lewis Manley gap that was created when Manley went into pits. There's Tobias Lauber. Tobias Lauber, the German, leads the way. Look at his style. He's very, very good indeed. And that's why he's one of the best in the world at the moment. He's been chased down by David Kart, making his BRKC debut here, the Polish driver. And Armando Paz in 3rd with Barul-Smith. And it's then Jeff Lund who's closing in on that group there that's behind him. So the Kart Paz Barul-Smith group has now been caught and joined by Jeff Lund, the American, with a string of fastest laps. He's the fastest on the track as we speak. 32.6 for his last lap. It's been his worst for a while, but it's still better than most people's. Here's Tobias Lauber on screen.
Oh, look, they've come to an agreement. They've done their hand signals. They have formed a pack, have Lunt and Smith. They seem to have united in their cause of keeping up with Paz. We will see, I love seeing, like, that's only good until the driver behind decides that it's not.
Yes, absolutely. And we've only got Jeff Lund's assumed agreement. Now, in order for that to be worth anything at all, Anwar Barul-Smith has to justify it by actually starting to attack Armando Paz, because for those viewers watching at home, these indoor karters will work together when it suits. So Anwar Barul-Smith, who we were just talking about, we're looking at Ryan Smith on screen, but Anwar Barul-Smith that we're talking about does need to try and pass Armando Paz. Now, if he's getting hassle from Jeff Lund, he can't be secure enough to make those moves he needs to make. Now, by suggesting to Lund that they just work together, that means Lund will hold off from the attack, let Smith open up, Anwar Barul-Smith open up the gap, which he will also follow him through on Armando Paz, who is running 3rd at the moment. So they are working together theoretically, but we've only got the assumption that Jeff Lund is on the same page there.
I want to see someone make that agreement and then immediately break it.
Well, pretty much had it. I don't think Logan Sune agreed to it earlier on at all.
That's
did he?
true.
He's well, it was a very tentative agreement, and almost well, you're only saying that because I'm going to get you. But anyway, here is Tobias Lund. He doesn't need an agreement with anybody at all. He's really clearing off in the lead. He's got a 3-second gap. This makes his pit stop easier. He can take more time over it, knowing he's going to come out with the lead still. David Kart is 3 seconds back, and then the action starts. It's Kart, Paz, Burrell Smith, joined by Lund. So as we're on the screen there with Tobias Lauber, he puts another lap in. That's 29 laps down there. And so he's got just under 4 minutes to go, Tobias Lauber. There's David Kart in the pits there.
Yeah, pit from Kart 20. That's Anwar Smith. So he has led Ryan Smith into the pits there. And wow, look at Anwar coming up in front of Lewis Manley. So that gamble's not paid off.
Yeah, Lewis Manley has leapfrogged Ryan Smith, but he has not got ahead of Anwar Burrell Smith. So really, maybe Lewis is back where he started from, and the big question will be what happens versus Jeff Lund. This is important for Lewis Manley.
Oh, here we go then. Well, we've got Paz, who's just responding, and I think that's a valid tactic to come in and just respond straight away and try and keep that track position, jumping up off his seat to help his engine. It's looking tasty.
They've got the run, they've got the run. Can they make move? No, they can't. Paz has got it covered. He covered the inside, he covered the centre. There was no collision, and he has maintained the position ahead of Anwar Burrell Smith with Lewis Manley behind. Now, this is very interesting, because when they all came in, effectively, Jeff Lund was where Manley is now. So quite where Jeff Lund will come out after a pit stop. He wants to leave it long, but the leader's with you.
Yeah, the leader's in the pits, and this is looking really comfortable. He had that luxury to not take any risks. It was smooth, and he's a country mile ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Spanners there. I know you were ready for Lauber, and I was busy talking about Lewis Manley.
Oh, you're okay. You're doing well.
The race is still on there. Lauber has relinquished the lead to David Kart. That puts Jeff Lund up to second. Now, who's going to be in next? There's just over 2 minutes to go. Into the midst, Kart,
yeah.
David Kart.
Yeah, Kart's in. He's under a little bit more pressure than Lauber was. Check one going pretty well, very busy, and of course he now has Lauber go sailing past him, and he's comfortably in second place.
Yeah, and that battle's hotted up there with Paz, Burrell Smith and Manley, and they're really getting racing now. They were major down the backstretch. There was a real fight on. Okay, and there they are on screen now.
So Manley had a holding brief before the pit stops. Now he is bumper to bumper. So now we see how much does he want this? How much does he want the extra places? As Arnaud Tenay comes into the pits. And nicely done. And Jeff Lund as well.
Where's Manley?
Jeff Lund, this is going to be really tasty. I'll hand over to you, James.
And Lund, is he going to do it? Paz has got the run on him, but Lund has taken them all. Lund has gone right up the order into third place. An incredible result there by the American. He used the speed, he used the pit stops, he's been fast. He's not the fastest at the moment in this race, but he was going into this situation here with the round of pit stops. Now, he was actually at the back of that group when it all started, and now he's at the front of the group. Lewis Manley is probably the net loser here because he does need the points to stay in the competition. But we're getting to the situation now where people are looking at missing the semi-final if they don't start scoring. Lewis Manley is one of those on the bubble, surely. As Jeff Lund has produced the unthinkable. That's probably the biggest single leapfrog we've seen, Spanners.
Oh, I mean, in hindsight, it's easy to say, isn't it? But what's happened is that Lewis Manley opened the gap for Lund to fill up and made it just that bit easier to get that kart length that he needed into turn one. So desperately unlucky for Manley, and inspired for Lund. A little
bit like Slater and Henderson last time. It didn't quite work out for Manley like it's worked out before, because Jeff Lund is very, very good indeed. Lewis Manley, unfortunately, has lost out in this from his point of view. He just needs more points if he can. We'd love him to get them, but Jeff Lund is the one who's made the moves there, and he's gone up into third place. To be fair, though, he's been very fast. The current fastest on the track in this race is David Kart. David Kart in second, but we're going to be getting the checker flag this time around, surely, as they're coming ever closer towards the finish of this race. Lauber, here he comes, Lauber in the 13. He's going to take the victory. There he is. Tobias Lauber takes his first win in the British Championship. There's David Kart in second place. Close by London third, Paz, Burrell Smith and Manley in sixth place. Ryan Smith in seventh, Dante Dillon eighth, Lucas Sullivan ninth, Arnaud Tenay in 10th. And what a race, Spanners. That really was an epic performance, and it's the first win we've seen this weekend by world number 7, Tobias Lauber.
Yeah, straight from the beginning of that race, it was almost immediately obvious, wasn't it, on lap 2, that he just had something over the field. He was just pulling away.
Yeah, this was Lauber's chance to just make it happen. He needed all these points and he got them. This is what makes the difference between someone who's going to be in the final and someone who's not. And Lauber's really made a good claim there to certainly being competitive for a final position. He's obviously got to get into and through the semi-final first. But they all come through. It's all over to you now, Spanners, in the pit lane there.
Well, there's certainly a happy American sitting on the perching on his desk. I think he can be very satisfied with his heat's work there. Please do. Oh, okay. We're going to see if we can grab a word with Michael.
Also good.
It's good enough. All Germans speak good English. Okay. In that case, I'll just give you your medal here. Race winner medal. I probably owe you one as well. So there you go. Have a good one. I'll respect that. He doesn't rate his English, but I would imagine that it's a lot better than yours and mine. Let's see if we can get Lund as well. He's just putting his seat away. It was a race really dictated and dominated by Lewis Manley's throw of the dice to try and get that early pit stop in. He could not have predicted that Lund was going to... Oh, we're going to chat with Michael. I got myself a little bit confused. There we go. You looked to be in complete control from the very beginning. Even from lap 2, you just looked like you were pulling away. It looked like magic.
Yeah, thanks, man. This was a very great race for me. The last race was very shitty, and I'm very happy with place 1. And yeah, tomorrow the last heat, I keep fighting, and then we will see.
You were very fast behind Van Pamelen in the last heat as well, and you really look like you're getting to grips with the kart and the track. It seems to suit you.
Guillermo is a very fast driver. The black flag for me was very terrible, but I can't say what I'm feeling about last race.
Oh no, well, enjoy this win. Very good. Well done. Thank you very much. Good race victory. Thanks for entertaining us. I think in that melee that Lund has gotten away from me. Look, he's escaped. Do come and chat to me if I point to you in the pit lane. Come and have a word with me as well, because that was absolutely fantastic driving on pure patience to get himself that pit stop and then be comfortably out in front. Back up to you, James.
Well, thank you there, Spanners. Basically, that was a great win by Tobias Lauber. He just really took it to him, started on the pole and worked his way onto victory there with making it so he was unchallenged. He made it happen for himself. All action behind with David Kart and the rest, and really a great job there. And a standing performance by the American Jeff Lund. Jeff Lund coming through to 3rd place from much further down the field there. Lewis Manley, of course, will be concerned about points now, but we're going to move forward now to heat race number 2 of round 3. And as I look at the lineup here, well, we've got our old favourite Alex Van Gien in there. We've got Sebastian Raikkonen. We've seen a lot of both of those today. Tim Dawson's back in action. Bartosz Grosek now. Bartosz Grosek. We saw a great performance from him earlier on. Philippe Gerjak, Christopher Powell, Zach Venn, Ross O'Mara, Philippe Deneuve and Logan Sune. Logan Sune looks like he'd be the first one out to qualify as well, Spanners.
Such a great race earlier.
Please.
I know we're off camera, but did you have any idea that your pace was going to pop you out into 3rd?
Actually, yeah. Traditionally, I start off slow, and it takes me a couple laps to get the feel of it. So I knew I'd pick it up, but the kart was handling beautifully.
So do you think that's going to improve into round 4? Can you get up to speed quicker?
Yes. I don't say that with a lot of confidence, but we'll see tomorrow.
I believe it's true. I have faith. Thank you very much, Lund. A great result for 3rd.
Yeah, so a great interview there, Spanners, with Jeff Lund. He's obviously pretty pleased with his 3rd place, and rightly so, because that was against some tough opposition and really a bit of an unlikely result given what he was facing to deal with. So great job there by the American Jeff Lund, looking really good at that. Now, the times are starting to come in where they started their qualifying laps now. There's Logan Sune, we know, was first out to qualify. It's not unrealistic to expect Logan Sune to be favourite for pole, but that hasn't necessarily followed through so far today, has it? Let's have a look as they start to come around. They're ready in the checker flag. Here comes Logan Sune in the number 13. He's going to take that kart across the line, so he goes initially provisionally fastest. He's still fastest with Grosek 2nd, Zerzak 3rd. Sune, the Belgian. Alex Van Gien is third. Great run there. Tim Dawson comes into 7th. 5th is Chris Powell. It's still Alex Van Gien in 3rd. Sebastian Raikkonen 6th. Ross Amara into 6th. Zach Venn goes up to 3rd. Goodness sake. There's still Logan Sune. Philippe Deneuve into 7th. So Logan Sune hangs on in there. He's got the pole position. Now, surely, Spanners, if ever we're going to see someone who wants a repeat performance of what we've just seen, it's Logan Sune. He does need the points. He actually wasn't feeling confident. And I grabbed a few words with him earlier on. He's up there on the pole position. He does need to convert this to victory for a huge ton of points. Grosjean, though, once again into 2nd place, Spanners. Now, last time he sort of ended a little bit down the order, but can he maintain that 2nd? But what about Alex Van Gien in 4th?
Oh, Van Gien's in 4th.
Yes, he is.
Missed Apex represent. That is our race analyst over at the podcasting shed. He seems to have some kind of problem with his handset at the moment, but absolutely, I think those top 2 can hold that, can fight. I think that might have been some false modesty from Logan there. He's always one to look out for.
Oh, absolutely, Emily. He's a member of the Blue Star team. He's in their Team 1, for goodness sake. So
wow.
He's in the best team in Europe, and he's one of the first team regulars, if you like. So he's always going to be very competitive. Bartosz Grosjean, we saw him in the previous race. We've got absolutely no previous of him whatsoever. Zach Venn, though, in 3rd place. That's going to be worth keeping a bit of an eye on as well. Wow. Spanners, here they come. Yeah. Logan Sune, bring them round to the start. He's going to have to make this a good start. And Logan Sune begins his race now. He's in the lead in 1st place. Fairly clean coming through that hairpin. Of course, bumping and boring just pushes people further back the order. But it's Logan Sune who's trying to check out from Bartosz Grosjean. Zach Venn continues in 3rd place. So Zach Venn is holding down that strong 3rd with Alex Van Gien in 4th. Alex Van Gien is in 4th.
Oh, he's held it. That's good. He's not going to go backwards in this race. I think he might actually have the wheels under him to be competitive, which will be a big boost for him.
Absolutely. So long as he believes it, that's what counts. Because we're looking at the blue-suited Logan Sune there, checking off into the distance if he can. He's in the lead. 1 lap pin. Continue around this hairpin. There's Alex Van Gien in the blue and red. There's Sebastian Raikkonen near the tail. There's Tim Dawson right at the rear. So here they are. Logan Sune turning in. There's Bartosz Grosjean. Zach Venn is in 3rd place with Alex Van Gien 4th. Alex Van Gien, one of the most popular competitors in all of the BRKC. There's a close one, Logan Sune. Now he's getting increasing pressure from the Polish driver, Bartosz Grosjean. Bartosz Grosjean is working hard on the leader there. He's less than half a second gap there.
I think Venn is kind of getting away a little bit because Van Gien's looking over his shoulder now. So you might see that distinct top 3 and that top 2 starting to form as the number 15 Deneuve comes into the pits for an early roll of the dice. Little kiss of the barrier on the inside. All good.
You're right there. It's Philippe Deneuve has made an early stop. Now he's a little bit down the order. Maybe he was feeling like he wanted to be clear of perhaps Powell, Raikkonen. Who knows? But he's certainly got some clear space. He's the only one who's been in. Look at that close-up on Logan Sune, really keeping it smooth, and that flick into the final left-hander there. He's been closely followed by Bartosz Grosjean. That camera angle almost puts you in the driver's seat, Spanners.
I think he thinks there's an immediate threat coming from Grosjean, but I'm not so sure. I think it's reasonably comfortable out there for the moment, but we are seeing that distinct 2 pull away. I'm not sure there's a lot Venn can do about it, so he's going to have a bit of a low race there, I think, in 3rd. A little bit of a chain forming behind Van Gien.
Yeah, he's got Van Gien sort of fighting. Look at that close-up. Logan Sune, it really puts you right in the middle of the action. Logan Sune really working. It looks a lot more work when it's close-up like does from a distance. And they're crossing the line. Logan Sune is clearly working hard. He's got Bartosz Grosjean behind him. We don't know anything about, but I know once Logan Sune is except that he's breathing down next man.
If you're what do you do here? You don't want to push him too hard. You want Songe to just go.
Yeah, Logan Sune can win clear. Logan Sune can do that for him. They've got the opportunity here thanks to Zach Venn dropping back a little in 3rd and Alex Van Gien dropping back in 4th. Themselves the lead. It's certainly going to make a comfortable pit stop doable and still remain 1st or 2nd. So Bartosz now, is he think, great, I'm going to go for the win here? Or thinking, do you know what 2nd place will do for me? Because that's an outstanding result. We'll see what really his impression of Logan Sune. I think if he can get the lead, he will. But if he can't, bearing in mind Logan Sune's heading, he may well consider that letting Logan do a lot of the work to pull him forward, You've got a pit stop.
Yeah, now I wondered if this was